Lenovo's Ideapad 1 is supposed to be the embodiment of sheer cost savings to you, the customer, or at least that's the idea on paper anyway, no pun intended. The latest iteration of this laptop that we have here is rocking AMD's Athlon Gold 7220U series processor, a petite 4GB of LPDDR5 memory. We also do have a equally small 128GB SSD. Additionally, we do have AMD's Radeon 610M integrated graphics combined with Wi-Fi 6 as well as Bluetooth 5.2 standards and a 15-inch Full HD display. Now keeping in mind this is technically a ultra budget laptop, we're gonna review it in that context. However, at the same time give you guys a honest idea of what you can expect with Lenovo's entry-level laptop, so let's get into it. You get a box befitting of a ultra-budget laptop here, no doubt. However, it's what's inside that counts, right? Open it up, and behind some more protective packaging, here it is, the Ideapad 1. It really does look quite nice, but we'll get to that in just a second. You also do get a standard 65-watt charging adapter, and we still have a barrel pin adapter here, so no Type-C out of the box just yet. And then you also have the standard wall outlet charging cable piece. Past that, some basic documentation, quick start, and manual information. One of the things that I really respect Lenovo for is the fact that the Lenovo Ideapad 1 continues to look almost as appealing as the higher end Ideapad laptops. It's not an afterthought, it's definitely got a reserved, conservative design, but ultimately a business and professional appeal. Despite having a full plastic body, this thing is really well built, it's sturdy, and that cloud gray color here really again adds that professional clean look. Now, the laptop does have a weight just shy of 3.5 pounds, putting it right around the average for your typical 15-inch laptop. Starting with the top side, you do have a plastic lid like I mentioned. However, there is a high degree of fingerprint resistance, which is always a good thing, and no unnecessary textures and some subtle branding. Lenovo's Ideapad 1 actually has more I/O ports on average than a lot of premium laptops do, typically speaking. With that said, on one side you do have the DC charging port, followed by a USB-A super speed port, a HDMI 1.4B port, and a Type-C port, as well as the headphone jack, of course. On the other side, you have one more USB-A super speed port and a full-sized SD card reader, which is a pleasant surprise. The bottom side of the laptop technically does have a removable plastic lid here, and then you'll also notice you do have nice long air intake vents, though you don't really need a lot of cooling given the hardware we have here. And then you'll also notice on either corner you do have a speaker grill, so this is a bottom firing setup. When you unfold this laptop, again, that graceful professional look continues to amuse me here. It's really nice that Lenovo puts that little effort to just make this laptop look appealing at the very least. Now, with that said, you do have a decent amount of palm rest space. At the center, unfortunately, you do have a plastic surface trackpad. I say unfortunately because there is a ridiculous amount of flex here, and the trackpad feels borderline wobbly. Definitely a QC issue in my opinion. The keyboard definitely feels like a downgrade when compared to previous generations of the Ideapad 1. At first glance, things look pretty normal. You've got the same standard Lenovo style layout, the font is easy to read, and the keycaps seem like they have a decent amount of surface area, though it is a little bit more compressed. You don't get backlighting, but that's also standard compared to previous generations, and you do thankfully still have the 10-key number pad. The problem comes in the typing experience, which feels considerably more hollow, less tactile, and the keys are slightly finicky. Again, when compared to the previous Ideapad 1, the typing experience here is vastly inferior. On a more positive note though, the hinge quality is definitely a upgrade compared to previous generations. There's a lot less wobble, it seems more fine-tuned and should be way more reliable, plus you get a near 180-degree tilt. Now you do have a full plastic encasing around the display and somewhat of a noticeable chin at the bottom side. However, the side bezels are fairly narrow and should be immersive enough, and then at the top you've again got a fairly narrow forehead, which again is a good thing over here. Now at the center you do have a 720p webcam, but this is probably one of the better 720p webcams out there. It's fairly clear, and also it does decent enough in most lighting settings. If there's one thing I've learned about reviewing budget laptops, is that you should keep your expectations 6 feet beneath the ground when it comes to display quality. Lo and behold, that's the case here. You're lucky enough because you do get a standard full HD resolution, which is fair game, a 60Hz refresh rate, but unfortunately you get a TN panel with this model rather than IPS, which means your viewing angles are very limited. There's a lot of white noise because of the backlighting, and of course you only have a peak brightness of 220 nits, which means under bright daylight settings, glare will overcome your display. Now, as far as color rating is concerned, you do have a rating of 45% NTSC or approximately 56% sRGB, which is fine for productivity-based use, but needless to say, for color-sensitive activities like video or photo editing, I would not recommend this display. A quick recap of the technical specs on board. So we have AMD's Athlon Gold 7220U series processor. We do have 4GB of LPDDR5 memory and AMD Radeon 610M integrated graphics. Now, day-to-day performance of the laptop is actually quite respectable. Everything from surfing the web to typing up Word documents to, going on YouTube is all a pretty fluid and smooth experience. You can even get away with less complex programming and coding. That's right, I was able to run Python and run some basic code without any issues. And dare I say, you can even do up to full HD video editing as long as it's single layer and you're not doing any sort of color grading or major effects. Now, of course, the minute you do anything more extreme than that, this laptop will not be able to handle it. And the key problem here isn't the processor, it's ultimately going to be the 4GB of memory. It would have been a lot more beneficial if Lenovo just gave us 8GB of older DDR4 memory versus 4GB of LPDDR5 that we have here, but nonetheless, performance isn't too bad for a machine of this class. Thanks to the high-efficiency AMD processor, you won't run into any noticeable problems with thermals. Under unrealistic peak loads, we only hit a max average surface temperature of approximately 39 degrees Celsius, with more realistic sustained loads hovering around 36 degrees Celsius, which are cool numbers, relatively speaking. Now, you do have a single fan setup, and that barely hits 43 decibels under peak noise, which you won't hit very often unless, again, you're really pushing this laptop to its limits for long periods of time. Self-upgradability options are also very limited because all the RAM is entirely soldered on board, so if you have the option to get more than 4GB during your purchase, please consider doing so. You can fortunately upgrade the one preoccupied M.2 PCIe Gen 3 slot with a compatible 2242 drive all the way up to 1TB, and the Wi-Fi module is also M.2 based, so you can upgrade to a more powerful connectivity module. You do get a very small 42 watt-hour battery here, which means you can expect right around 7 hours of runtime with general productivity use cases at full brightness. As far as speaker quality is concerned, let's just put it this way, the Lenovo Ideapad 1 is capable of making sound, and to be entirely fair, I wasn't expecting much more. It is an entry-level laptop after all. Here's a quick sound test for reference.
I don't believe in destiny, I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me, you ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know, better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known.
With an approximate value of $240 for the configuration reviewed here today, the Ideapad 1 is undoubtedly a very affordable laptop. It's great for anyone with a basic workflow that doesn't go beyond online banking, watching videos online, or surfing the web. For anyone who has a more advanced workflow, I would strongly recommend getting a more powerful laptop that has at least 8GB of memory in 2024 and onwards. However, there are certain odd shortcomings. For example, both the trackpad and keyboard have gone down in quality when compared to previous generation Ideapad 1s, and I'm not quite sure why Lenovo's done that. But again, despite these flaws, this is a pretty decent laptop at the price category it's at, and if you're not looking for an advanced workflow, I can't recommend it in that capacity. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video. It genuinely helps me grow and means the world to me. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next one.